Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Godox V480 flash. I've been using Godox flashes for the past 3 years now for my macro photography. I own both the Godox V350 and V860iii, which are two great options for macro photography. And now we've got the Godox V480, which bridges the gap between the V350 and the V860iii. Before I share my experiences with this flash, I'm going to quickly run you through the specs. The V480 is slightly bigger than the older V350, including the actual flash head. Dimensions wise, it's got a width of 6.54 inches, a height of 2.8 inches, and a depth of 1.93 inches. It's quite a lightweight flash, only weighing 361 grams. It's got a modern look with this 2-inch colour touchscreen to adjust all of your settings. And if you prefer using buttons, there is a dial with a set button, and there is a power button which is used to open up the menus. On the side of the flash there's a USB-C port, and this is used for firmware updates. On the front of the flash there's a modelling light. This is good for helping you test your lighting and for helping you see your subjects in the dark. The V480 is powered by a VB22 lithium-ion battery, and this has a rated capacity of 2200 milliamps. The battery has a USB-C port built into it, so there's no need for a dedicated charger, and you can charge it with any USB-C cable. Godox claims this flash can fire 650 full power shots on a single charge. When using high-speed sync, you can use shutter speeds of up to 1/8000. There's a built-in 2.4 GHz wireless X system, meaning you can use this flash wirelessly when you use products like the Godox X2T. This flash is compatible with Canon, Nikon, Fuji, Sony, and Olympus OM system cameras. Now I've gone through all the key specs, I'm going to go out in the field and stress test the V480 with some macro photography. I'm out in the field now and I've just found the perfect subject to test out the flash with. I've found this group of tiny slime molds, and when using a flash and diffuser, it's generally better to photograph small things because you get a lot closer, which means your light source will look a lot bigger and more diffused. If you're photographing something larger, then you're a lot further away and the light source will be a lot smaller and a lot more harsh. Just before I photograph these slime molds, I'm going to quickly talk about the modelling light. I'm about to get a B-roll shot of these slime molds to put in the video, and you've probably already seen that shot a moment ago when I was talking about finding these slime molds. And what I've discovered is that I can actually use the modelling light on this flash along with the Signastech diffuser to light up the slime molds to provide more light for the video. With the light turned off, my shot is underexposed by nearly 2 stops. But as soon as I turn the model light on and put it to full power, I've got a lot more light in my shot, and my shot is now perfectly exposed. The model light is generally designed for testing out your lighting or to help you find your subject in the dark. But as you saw there, you can also use it for video. So to photograph it, I'm going to use this Raynox DCR250. This clips onto the front of the lens and just gives my lens a bit more magnification, because this 60mm is a 1x magnification lens, and a Micro Four Thirds, that is the full frame equivalent of 2x magnification. And when using this, I think I have a full frame equivalent of around 3x magnification, something around there, which means I'll be able to fill the frame with those tiny little slime molds. I'm going to be focus bracketing several shots, potentially around 100 shots, to get more of this slime mold in focus. And generally I'll do this handheld, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be using a tripod just so I have some really consistent results. Right, so I've got my composition set up, and settings wise, I'm going to be using 1/100 shutter speed, f5.6 and ISO 200. And then I've got my flash power set to 1/32 to expose those settings. And what I'm going to be doing here is focus bracketing all the way from the front of the subject all the way to the back, and then later on I'm going to combine all those images to get more of the subject in focus. And to properly stress test this flash, I'm going to focus bracket way further than I need to see how it keeps up. So all I've got to do is press my shutter button to start my focus bracket, and yeah, this will take quite a while. I think so far it's probably taken about 30-40 images, and we've currently focus bracketed enough for this shot, but we're going to keep going and see how the flash keeps up. Still going. Oh, speed's increased. And right now there's actually an SD card message on my camera, so I think the main problem with that was actually my SD card, not the flash. As you saw there, my focus bracket ended without me pressing the shutter button again, and I think that's because it reached the end of the focus on my lens. The flash fired just over 300 times during that sequence, and it did slow down a little bit at the end, but that wasn't actually the flash, it was my SD card, because I saw a little SD card icon pop up in the top left as soon as it started slowing down. So I'm going to do the exact same again, but this time you're going to see the back of the camera. And as you can see, I've just started the bracketing sequence and my flash has started firing. And everything is going smooth so far. Still going. And as you see there, SD card started buffering, so my flash has slowed down a little bit, and it's reached the end of the focus on the lens. So if you want to use this flash for macro photography for doing high image focus brackets, it performs great. As you saw there, I just did back-to-back 300 plus image focus brackets, and it didn't seem to struggle at all. I'm now just going to briefly talk about what equipment I recommend using with the V480 flash. I feel like this flash works really well with a small macro lens, such as the OM System 60mm that I've got on here, and that's what I used to photograph those little slime molds a minute ago. And when you've got a diffuser on, such as the Cygnus Tech diffuser I've got here, it kind of just makes sense proportionally. Like there's quite an even distance from the flash head to the front of the lens with a lens of this size. But if you have a bigger macro lens, such as the OM System 90mm, and you want to use it with the V480 flash, I have tested it out and it does work very well. I just feel like proportionally this makes a lot more sense than using a big lens with a smaller flash. Also, quick side note, the Cygnus Tech diffuser I'm using here is actually designed for the 60mm and the older V350, and I've made it fit and it seems to fit perfect. I've just used a bigger rubber band because the V350 rubber band is really tight on the V480, but yeah, seems to fit perfect. Another cool feature of this flash is that it uses a VB22 lithium-ion battery, and these have a USB-C port built into them, which means you can actually charge the battery when you're out and about using a portable charger. I've got my portable charger here, so all I've got to do is take the battery out, and right here under this little white strip there's a USB-C port, and I can just plug my battery in and the red light is on, indicating that it's charging. The reason I love this feature so much is because you can just charge your battery wherever you are, and it also means you don't really need to buy a spare battery, because if you run out of battery you can just put it on charge and then whenever it's charged you go back to shooting. Whereas with my V350 and the V860 Mark III, they both use dedicated chargers, which means I can't charge it out and about, and if I run out of battery I'm gonna have to go home and stick it on charge and then come out another time. I'm back in the studio now and I'm going to share my thoughts on this flash after using it for the past few months. So we use this flash quite a lot during the summer photographing bugs, and I mostly use the OM System 60mm with this flash because I felt like that was a good pairing. I also tested out this flash with my OM System 90mm macro lens, and this is quite a bigger macro lens, so generally you'd want to use a bigger flash, but I feel like the Godox V480 held up surprisingly well. But I'll talk about using this flash with the 90mm a little bit later on. The first time I used this flash, I took almost 2,500 images in one morning, and it didn't seem to struggle at all. I also took it out a couple days later, where I shot just over 3,000 images in one morning. For each subject, I was focus bracketing somewhere around 50 to 100 images, and sometimes the subject would move or I'd want to try a different composition, which meant for some subjects I was shooting hundreds of images in a short amount of time. But the flash didn't seem to struggle or buffer at all. I was using a power of 1/32 for most shots, because when focus bracketing I need my power to be quite low, otherwise I'll run the risk of overheating. In terms of power, the V480 is only 200 milliamps more powerful than the older V350. So it's hard to notice a difference, and with this flash bridging the gap between the V350 and the V860 Mark III, I wish it had a little bit more power. The V350 is 2000 milliamps, whereas the V860 Mark III is 2980 milliamps. So I kind of expected the V480 to have somewhere around 2500 milliamps. I feel like if they removed the modelling light, then they could have allowed for more room for a bigger battery. But I do understand this flash is designed for several different types of photography, so I can see why they've made the design choices they've made. Another thing I noticed when focus bracketing using this flash is that there isn't any buffer halfway through the sequence. This was a common problem with the V350 and it was quite annoying, but it seems they fixed it with this new V480. One thing I'm not a fan of is the touch screen. Sometimes I shoot with my eye up to the camera, and with my head pressed up against the flash, I feel like I could accidentally change some settings. And when I first got this flash, I didn't see any option to lock the screen, but after some Googling, I realised that if you update to the latest firmware, you can have an option in the flash to lock the screen. For me personally, I prefer the simplicity of buttons, but after using this flash a few times, I quickly got used to the touch screen and actually started enjoying it. One problem I have with navigating the settings is that when I swipe and click on the menus tab, I can't seem to find a way back to the main screen without turning the flash off and on again. Before clicking the menu tab, you can return to the main screen by clicking the home button or by swiping. But once you're in the menus, the home button keeps taking you back to this page, and swiping back to the main screen no longer works. Hopefully they fix this with a firmware update soon, but for now it's not too bad because you can just get around it by turning the flash off and on again. Other than that though, this flash is a great option for macro photography, and it's a nice upgrade from the older V350. While it's not as powerful as something like the V860 Mark III, the V480 is a great middle ground option that's a little bit more powerful and a little bit bigger than the older V350. If I'm ever using my OM system 60mm again, I'll definitely pick up the V480 over the V350. As for the OM system 90mm, I prefer using the V860 Mark III just because it's a lot more powerful. The more magnified you are, the more light you lose. And when focus bracketing at 2x magnification with the 90mm, I want my flash power to be quite low to avoid overheating. Generally, when focus bracketing, I don't want to go any brighter than 1/32. And in some cases with the V480 and 90mm combo, I had to go a little bit brighter than that to expose my image. But if you don't shoot 100+ image focus brackets one after the other like I do, then the V480 is a great option for the OM system 90mm. And if you value size and weight when it comes to equipment, I'd definitely recommend the V480. The V480 only weighs 361 grams, and for comparison, my usual flash is the Godox V860 Mark III, and that weighs 530 grams. So it's pretty light for what it packs, and it definitely helps out doing macro photography for several hours handheld. And surprisingly, one of my favourite things about this flash is the VB22 battery. Recently I went on holiday and forgot to pack my charger for my V860 Mark III, and that meant I couldn't charge that flash at all. But luckily I also brought the V480 with me, and this could be charged using my USB-C phone charger. So overall I think the Godox V480 is a great option for macro photography, especially for those who are trying to build a small and lightweight setup. As always, the Godox V480, along with all the other equipment used in today's video, will be linked down below in the description, and those are affiliate links, meaning if you buy through them, I'll get a small commission and no extra cost to you, which will help support the channel. But with that said and done, I'm going to end today's video here, so make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.